Oke. And we're back for another
Oh,
episode.
he's back. I'm not back.
I said
You know
we're
why I'm
back.
not back?
That
Do
front.
you know why I'm not back? Do you want to know or do you not?
Is your front?
No, because I never left. I've been here the whole time, waiting for you to come back. You've just left me on the side of the road like a puppy in a garbage bag. You're so cruel. You knew I was here. You knew I didn't leave, right? Why would you do this to me?
Right, another
Why would you do this to me?
review of My Hero Academia, the final season, episode 5. I think it's episode 5. Like that's what I got titles. If I'm wrong. I'm wrong in the past and in the future. But what else is new? Okay, so this episode titled "The Greatest Villain of All Time," and boy, oh boy, does he live up to that thing, that title. Basically, to give just a generic, well, not generic, like a very short overview. Deku's fighting Shigaraki, and he is losing. Well, kind of. They're kind of at a stalemate because like they're both like hitting a wall against each other. Deku's doing damage to Shigaraki, but obviously Shigaraki's regenerating. I laugh because I was talking to somebody at work about that. And then Shigaraki, well, apparently reached right into One for All and took out no, All for One. Reached right into All for One and took out a quirk, and he took out the Danger Sense, which is gonna seems like it's actually working against Deku.
You know what made me upset about the Danger Sense quirk being stolen?
No.
So Hikagi Shinomori, like he in the Vestige world, like knew that this was coming, and he knocked away N out of the way, so that Deku lost Danger Sense instead of Smokescreen. Which later in the episode they specifically say Smokescreen is the one they could afford to lose.
Well, no, actually. Well, I mean, yes, but also no. No's because like here's the situation that we would really be in. No, I guess that still makes him useless. I was about to argue for him.
Smokescreen is basically.
I was about to argue for him because what I was about to say, it was a situation we're going to be in is that Shigaraki took out Smokescreen, and he would have used Smokescreen to try to get the best of Deku, but no, Deku still have Danger Sense, so Smokescreen will still be useless. Dang it.
Yeah, Smokescreen is useless. And like for this fight, not always, but for this fight, it's useless. And Danger Sense was like, "No, he can't take Smokescreen. Take me instead." And he got captured. And,
I don't think. Well, I don't think he got in the way because like no, we can't lose.
He did. He looked up and knocked him out of the way.
No, but hear me out. Hear me out.
I'm trying to.
He did knock him out because he did knock him out of the way because no Smokescreen. That was just one of his friends that he didn't want to to get taken by Shigaraki.
Okay,
I don't think it had anything to do with it being no Smokescreen.
He done fudged up though.
But that was his ability, his only ability, by the way, which was to detect danger.
Right.
I mean, he's just as useless as anything else in that world. If I'm gonna just be frank about it. I mean, while it's not useless in the fact that it's not useful, but it's useless in the fact of like it doesn't do much other than warn the person about danger incoming, and that's all it ever did. The only reason why Shiomori was even a hero to begin with was because he just trained his body up to be able to fight. So it was one of those like really weird mental powers. Now, while I understand your point, I'm just saying that let's be real, Danger Sense was just as useless.
Mm-hmm. No, Danger Sense was more useful because he has search, so there's a counter for Smokescreen, but there's no counter for Danger Sense. Danger Sense could have at least been a little useful, but Smokescreen wasn't useful at all.
But in the general sense of the ability, it's still useless, just as useless as Smokescreen. I'm not saying that it's useless as in it's not useful, because it is useful, just like smokescreen is, but it's still useless in the form of like the power doesn't do much other than warn the user, which I'm not saying is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that like it was like if you want to talk about the general term of uselessness, I think Shimura's quirk still falls in that regard as the quirks that are involved in Deku. I will say, as I'm back and forth dancing around the subject, I will say Dangerousness being gone did upset me. It was like, no, why? And then apparently Shigaraki immediately started using it. But at least on the bright side, Deku knows the weaknesses behind it, so he can exploit them, whatever those weaknesses are.
He said at first, if you over rely on it, it can cause you problems. He knows from fighting Lady Nagant, but like it's a very small weakness. I think it's not going to be a game breaker. I don't know. That's just, I was like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like when I saw it coming up, and I was just like, that's so stupid. But because I went back and looked to see who was saved, and I was like, but isn't that the one that they all got around and talked and said, you're the one we can afford to lose, you know? And like, but I don't know. Not that Danger Sense is like the greatest of his quirks. Like I think Gear Shift and Black Whip probably float are better, but as well as, you know, All for One itself. But it still just seemed like it was not what you would have hoped would happen there.
Also, speaking of like, I guess All for One, I found it interesting that this was kind of just flat out stated by the first guy that like their quirk factors aren't the things that are strengthening the quirk. It's literally All for One itself. I thought that was interesting because I was under the impression that it was the quirk factors getting stronger and strengthening themselves within the quirk. I guess I was misunderstanding that fundamental bit about All for One. I guess I didn't understand anything about that power at all. I'm glad that they clarified that, because I was under the impression that it was the quirk factors doing it. Which they also kept on using the word quirk factor. This like since the word was brought up, I actually find that interesting that now they're using the word quirk factor. But yeah, I mean, Danger Sense. I mean, but he was just doing the thing that he was designed to do, which was sense danger and get out of the way. Unfortunately for him, he was also trapped. So I'm not gonna deny that. It just, I will say, Smokescreen also is kind of being a Debbie Downer the rest of the time. It's like, hey, Ninth, you should probably run while you still can. It's like, dude, you shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, I'm actually kind of curious because he was smoke number 6. I don't even know what number he was in terms of the order of the people who got One for All.
Was Smoke number 6? Wasn't he? I don't know.
Look, it really matters.
ChatGPT might have told me because I looked it up on ChatGPT. I can look and see what the chat says and see if it listed it. The wiki was incomplete about this, which I was really surprised by. When I looked this stuff up on a wiki, it was like it didn't have all the data. Where is it? I think it might have been number 3. I think it might have been number 3.
I heard you. I was just looking to see the guy's name. Maybe it's good. Oh, yeah, he was a 6 user. I really pulled that out of my butt. I didn't know that was. Yeah, apparently he was a 6 user.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it looked to me like he's number 3 in the way that ChatGPT organized all the info. Number 9. Number 9. Yes.
So I guess that must have, it went from him to Float Woman, then from Float Woman, All Might. I don't think really any of that matters. I guess I just trying to. I guess now that knowing the number of which they came, kind of cool. Doesn't really mean anything, but again, yeah, it does like that.
No, it's cool.
Yamori's gone, but now that Deku starts fighting Shigaraki, but now Shigaraki's got danger sense, making him a lot harder to hit. Oh, I guess another thing interesting to want to point out. Shigaraki can see the ghosts, which I thought was also intriguing.
Yeah, so I think after he still touched Deku and still part of his quirk, I'm gonna call it part of his quirk. I think it connected them somehow, because from that point forward, they seem to have a deeper level of understanding of each other. So I think it like sort of bonded him with the quirk a little bit, and possibly made him more connected to Deku, which builds into my theory that this whole episode built into my theory that Deku's going to try to save him, like I said last podcast. But I think that understanding that he's getting of Deku is going to be pivotal too, that like they're sort of connecting together a little bit as well.
Now you brought this up, I can actually completely say what I want to say.
I'm sorry.
I have a fundamental problem. Well, not fundamental problem. I have I started realizing I was watching this episode that I was having this feeling that I remember having before, watching another show, specifically The Last Airbender.
Okay.
Redeeming the hydrate. 1 minute. Okay, back to my rant. I had this problem and this feeling, and I want to express it. That because we brought this up before, this kind of seems like the One for All kind of seems to be replicating the Avatar situation. But
Yeah.
now I can really lay into something here. I didn't like the we already talked about we don't like the energy bending thing, but what I also don't like about the Aang situation was like I'm starting to realize I find pacifist characters annoying, and even like characters that just don't want to kill somebody.
I don't think Deku is really a pacifist.
I'm not gonna call him a pacifist. I'm just saying like a character that doesn't want to kill anybody, even though the situation and everything around it is deeming that he might need to be killed. And I really don't like it when a character really fights against this, because like while I understand Deku fundamentally is a nice guy, and you know he is just he legitimately Deku is a legitimately nice guy and a innocent kid at best. I think he's a what am I calling it? Like kind of a radical idealist. Like I really find it aggravating when everything around him is telling him to kill, because that's my biggest problem with freaking Aang. It's like, and while in that situation, I think they had to go that route because Nickelodeon, but still, even with Aang, it was annoying to me that like, and I guess the worst part was about the Aang situation. It was even though it was on Nickelodeon, they still kind of used the word kill, and they kind of even beyond that point alluded to him having to kill Ozai several times near the end of the show. It was ridiculous how often,
Yeah.
It was ridiculous how often, like it was basically flat out, and then they had Kyoshi just flat out tell him he's gonna have to die. It's like the same thing here, kind of, not 100%. This is like it was more like he's beyond saving, and even like even Shigaraki's grandma even like gave up on him twice. I want to say twice, only for Deku to bring her back from the brink of giving up on him. But still, I think what I really don't like more than Deku's ambivalence to trying to want to kill him, because I'm gonna say I'm not annoyed by it as much as I would probably be annoyed by something like Aang has done. I find it more annoying that they're trying to redeem Shigaraki. Like, for me, Shigaraki is beyond redemption, and them trying to redeem him is actually aggravating. I think they're reaching really far to find some sort of humanity to reach out to, and I'm still under the assumption that kid told Deku that he's a villain. I don't know why he's still trying to reach out to this kid to change his mind, even if there is some piece of him, like a very small piece of this kid, still within Shigaraki that can be reached. It's just really aggravating. I don't like that they're trying to redeem Shigaraki, because even with that being said, once he is redeemed, because at this point that's what we're going for. I don't like it, but at this point, once he's redeemed, we still have a problem. Like Toga, they're still gonna have to put him in jail, and Toga said that she would do anything but go to prison. I'm almost 100% certain Shigaraki's gonna go that same route. There's no other way around it. He's gonna have to die because he's gonna be put in jail. Period. They're not gonna let him free. He's done too much damage to the world, even with Deku's radical idealism, which I'll commend him for. But at the same time, it's like, Shigaraki's done too much. He's done way too much damage to this world. They're not gonna let him free. He's gonna be put in jail, and now, at best, put in jail. At worst, they're gonna give him a death sentence, which unfortunately for Shigaraki, I don't think he can die. I mean, I don't know, but like, based on his consistent regeneration, I highly doubt that he's gonna die easy.
Can I throw out, I'm not gonna go so far as to call it a fan theory, but a possibility that I occurred to me when I was watching this?
Go ahead. Go right ahead. That's what we're here for.
So, you know how when we were watching the All for One episode, how they talked about how Shigaraki, All for One, if his the first All Might person with All for One said, you could have had the most kindest, you could have had the kindest quirk of them all. Do you remember that moment when he says that to him? The first user of One for All says it to All for One.
Me and his brother. Yeah, I remember when his brother said that to him.
What, you don't remember? You do remember.
No, I remember when his brother said that to him.
Do you think that in Deco convincing him to reform, let's say he does it, let's say he pulls it off.
Bullshit.
That
Continue.
let's say he, just for the sake of this conversation for a second, let's say he pulls it off. Do you think that the payoff of that might be that he uses the All for One power for good? Because he has it.
Benefit of the doubt. And he would, Toei Horikoshi, the creator of this manga, he would have to pull some serious gymnastics for me to be okay with this, because we still have the biggest problem, regardless of, like, okay, he does do this, there's still one issue that needs to be resolved, and that's like the world view on Shigaraki. Like, there's no way, like, there's too many people that already are afraid of him. Never mind the people that don't trust him. Wow, I'm pretty sure Shigaraki could probably function in the world that only has Deku in it that trust him, and maybe Bakugo and maybe Uraraka. You know, maybe the young pro heroes would be the one group of people that may try to trust him. But he's still got the problem of the entire rest of the world. Like, he's done too much damage already to per se, like, let him roam free. And maybe I'm gonna retract on that. Not even let him roam free. Let him go and let him, like, still kind of hold him accountable. He's done way too much damage that I highly doubt anybody would let him just, like, exist. It just seems like, because, like, it seems the situation with the same thing with Toga. It's like Toga died for two reasons. Toga died to save Uraraka, but also she died because she did not want to be put in prison, because she knew they weren't going to let her free. Like, even if she did change her, even though, because she did have a change of heart, but there's no way they're going to listen to Uraraka, who's already on the ground dying of blood loss. So it was like Toga only had one way out, and that was through death. I honestly believe Shigaraki's only way out is to die. While I understand that's probably gonna hurt Deku, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Like, I mean, it'd be sad, Deku, having one of the things he's been trying to reach out to, and then he ends up dying anyway because the world doesn't see it. I still think that may be better off, and it'd be interesting character growth for Deku, realizing that, yeah, he did save him, even if it resulted in him dying anyway. But with the whole idea of Shigaraki becoming a good guy all of a sudden, there had to be some serious, like, in my honest opinion, the only real way I could probably believe this is maybe if they could prove to me that what that kid inside Shigaraki said was actually just him like putting up a facade, which I guess I could believe. I don't want to believe it, but I guess I could believe that maybe what it is just because he does have a lead like protection sphere around himself of hate and whatever, and like that from when he was a little kid. So maybe Deku could purify that, maybe. But even that's a stretch, because it's like, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like I'm basing all what I'm feeling off of one instance of what that little kid did. I don't know. It just to me, it just like, I feel like there had to be some serious storytelling and some really fast storytelling. And honestly, I know that's probably the direction they're gonna go anyway, but I don't know if I'm gonna really be okay with it at the end of the day. I may be okay with it in the moment, but then years later, I'm thinking back on it, and I'll probably be like, you know what, I didn't like that. Like how I did with the with the Avatar situation. I liked it in the moment because it was cool, but years later, I started thinking back on it. I'm like, that you know what, that it never set right with me.
That is some bullshit. That's what you thought?
No, I didn't think that. It was just like, I did think that it was kind of out of nowhere, and I think, honestly, I guess like really quick on because we keep talking about this, I guess I might as well say something I kind of wanted to say. The energy bending, that isn't exactly BS. It's more because it's a style of bending that they do, talk more about in Legend of Korra. But what they really should have done, and this is maybe this just a better way of this, maybe, but this would have been storytelling that they should have done earlier on. When they introduced the sea turtle things, which I'm guessing they only introduced those guys during the last season, which I guess is also really bad. They probably should have like had those sea lion turtle things somewhere else in the world. At least we could have had like a passing remark on them. It should have been revealed that maybe like those guys are where bending comes from. Because at least when we had that moment where the sea turtle touched Aang's forehead and his chest region, when that light just shone out of nowhere and then brought Aang back to the island. If we had known that those sea lion turtles were, the teachers of bending from a long time ago, I think maybe that would have been a lot more. That would have made the energy bending for some people, and that's saying for everybody, but for some people they probably would have been able to digest it better, in my honest opinion. I don't know if that would have helped you digest that more, Spear, but I feel like I would have accepted it more if I had just known that that's what he was doing, than just the very weird show not tell situation that they did there. Yeah. If we had just known more information about these sea turtles, I think that would have been more digestible, in my opinion. But if you got anything to add on that before we move back to My Hero, the floor is open.
No, I'm good. I was disappointed in the handling of the sea turtle stuff, as you know. I think it could have been. I think it wasn't out of the question for that to be the way things resolved, but I didn't like it given the circumstances of the situation. Like, I was okay with. I think I would have been okay with him finding spirit bending and using it so that he didn't have to kill, if it wasn't just an ass pull. And you know what I mean? If they built up to it and they'd given it some stakes that were a little bit more serious, you know what I mean, and things like that, then I would have been okay with it. But they didn't make it good enough. and it was disappointing at the end. And then it was like, I don't know, wasn't a complete disappointment. It wasn't a complete disaster, but it wasn't good enough for. It wasn't worthy of the storyline that they spent all that time building up to me.
I guess like one last question, and then we'll move on. So do you think if they had like layered, like, you know, put out into the world of the Avatar that these turtles were hanging around, and that maybe in just like a one statement just kind of like hinted that these things might be much older than we probably think that they are, and maybe that, you know, and that there have been rumors possibly that they knew about bending, and that maybe that they created bending. And then when they showed us that sea turtle interaction much later on, like, even though they just showed us the sea turtles and made that comment in season 3, like, would you have been okay with the way that they handled that, or would you still be disappointed?
I think they would have needed a thread throughout the entire thing that they built on, that they kept coming back to. Like, maybe they could have had a thread about how bending goes beyond the 4 elements, you know what I mean, and that you can extend yourself beyond that if you try hard enough. And that Toph could have been a big revelation for him. Wow, you really can do things with bending that's never been done before, you know what I mean, when he saw Toph doing metal bending. And then if they had gone on to have him wonder about that all the time and have little hints about, you know what I mean, what he could be doing with it. And if they deepen the spiritual connection between airbending and spirituality, and had hinted that that spirit bending might be a variant of airbending. Do you know what I mean? And they talked about, like, you know, how waterbending does healing, which doesn't really have anything directly to do with water, and firebending is life, and you know what I mean, and that metal bending happened, and that there's so much more to bending than you've ever thought possible. And then towards the end of it, in a way that was not nearly as abrupt, you know what I mean, he realized finally the true riddle that had been built up the entire episode about bending, and said, you know what, I'm going to try to do this. And it was a big risk, you know what I mean, and that somebody had warned him against never trying to do this because it could take you over, like they already warned you. And then the fight was even more dramatic than it was in the episodes, you know what I mean, where just, and then he went boop and he came back. But if the fight had been much more of a struggle, and then finally he came back and triumphed, and then you were like, and there was no guarantee that any of this was going to work, or that bending was even a thing like this, you know what I mean, but Aang made it happen, and then it would have been like better, you know. It still wouldn't have necessarily been perfect, but I think they would have had to build up to this as like a core theme throughout the entire series, and that he would be much more of a pioneer to it than just being given it. Like I said, like that he discovered that it was a variant of airbending. Do you know what I mean? That like only he found to do. I would have been better with it if it was something like that.
I guess I get the other issue we were into, energy or spirit bending, is you can't exactly learn it, you have to be given to it. At least this stuff I think I read about is like, apparently you can't learn it normally, you have to be given it. It's, I think, the
Right, but what I'm saying is I would want
right.
them to change the whole nature of spirit bending to be a variant of airbending. I think that would be the way I would be okay with it. You know what I mean? If we learned that it was a variant of that, and that he pioneered, he invented spirit bending. Do you know what I mean? I think that would have been better than being given it randomly.
Okay, so not your main issue with the energy bending. It's just a small issue that you do have, is that he was just flat out given the gift, and he didn't have to work to get it.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I guess that's another thing. I don't know what Nickelodeon's, like, you know, contract with them was. That maybe that had something to do with. I have no idea. I don't want to blame the Nickelodeon's like a child network, and maybe that has nothing to do with it. I'm not gonna go that direction with it. I guess, like, yeah, maybe they had done more supplanting. It's possible that too, maybe, because this is the art. It's the art of like making a story. It's 100% possible that maybe they had randomly just thought about energy bending, and unfortunately, by the time they had thought about it, it was way too late to try to put it into the show. but they wanted to use it anyway because they didn't want to lose the idea. So they just kind of made a turtle, um, and just threw him into the world. And they were intending to explain it further, but they weren't given the green light by the
Yeah.
company. So unfortunately, the way they ended the show was eventually boop, green turtle, boop, new superpower, boop, Ozai's gone. I hate that boop is what I'm going with, but I think
But Boop works. It kind of worked, didn't it?
but it was like it was like but it was like that's how it kind of flowed. Maybe because like I'm willing to bet, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that I'm willing to bet that they came up with the idea of energy, spirit bending, whatever you want to call it, much later on in the process of the show. And possibly I'm gonna give this is what I'm gonna give. When they gave Toph metal bending, I bet that's when they came up with the spirit bending. But unfortunately, by the time Toph even learned earth bending, they were in book two, and I think there was no way they could have probably inserted the turtles into the show. I'm pretty sure they could have found the way if they really were working through their show and maybe found a spot where a turtle wouldn't be so random. But even that's kind of just suspect at best. But I'm gonna give them benefit that they randomly come up with the idea, and unfortunately because of time and contractual obligation and stuff like that, whatever have you, they just could not insert energy bending the way they wanted to. Which is maybe it's the point of their movie that they're coming out with, where they're doing a retelling of the show. I think is what they're doing with that movie, the animated movie. So it's possible that maybe that's what they're gonna do. I'm willing to give them benefit that maybe they are intending to explain it to us, but they just didn't have the time. Because I mean, look at Legend of Korra. They went out of their way to explore that. For some reason, they didn't have to, because it was much years later after the event. So like for them to go out of the way to explain it tells me that they must have had some idea of what they wanted to do, but maybe not 100%. 100% of like this is how we want to do it, versus how they did it. But I mean, it was still not the best way. I will agree with you on that one. But I guess back to my hero. I don't think there's anything else from the show.
This whole crack in his psyche thing is also very like weird to make something that symbolic such a literal thing.
Well, I mean,
they see it like it's an actual crack in his psyche. You know what I mean? They point at it, and it's like this whole surreal kind of ending to the story that like has been a very literal story so far, and now we've got this sort of surreal, like bizarre ending to it.
I mean, sure, Rocky's psyche has always been a mess anyway. I think that's really all that really was. Is they're just pointing out that there is a way that you can, in fact, inflict damage, even if it's not physical, because Shigaraki still has mental, very little, very brittle mental defenses. Mirio already showed us that when he said he had no friends and Shigaraki lost it. For anybody who forgot about that, that actually did happen. But I guess that's why they're doing that with with that little kid. But that's kind of where I started kind of getting very upset, kind of, well, not upset, but very not happy. It's like, oh, of course they're gonna do this. Like part of me was like, I shouldn't be shocked that they're trying to do this. But part of me was like, I was hoping that they weren't gonna try to redeem this kid. But like, I guess at this point we're at the point of no return. So unless they do something really random and it's like they don't exactly redeem him, maybe they hammer in more of the idea that maybe he can't be saved. But even with that, they keep on giving Deku hope that Deku can exactly save Shigaraki. Like, I mean, Shigaraki even knows that's what he's trying to do, and he keeps on taunting him the entire fight. And he's like, "I'm not human anymore." And he's like, "Yes, you are. You are a person." I guess speaking of persons, Deku,
Is that taunting or is that like a narrative that they're establishing together? Like, I don't know if that was taunting.
I think Shigaraki was taunting because every time he was talking to him, it seemed like to me this wasn't like a "I'm telling you this is how I feel" versus just more like "I am trying to get underneath your skin." Because Shigaraki knows that he wrote like Deku is formidable only when he's thinking, when he's not thinking is when he makes rash decisions. But
Hmm.
I still feel like it's taunting. It may be a narrative, maybe a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it's more just him just taunting Deku more than anything else, because he knows if he can get underneath his skin, he can do. He'll win the fight. But I think I had a thought process and lost it there. Must not have been that important if I lost it immediately. Oh no, that's what I wanted. What do you think? This is apparently the official naming of this form that Deku took on. I think it's either overlay or inlay. But I happened to see it the video game trailer for this thing before I actually happened to see the episode. Darn YouTube. But I saw like the title of whatever it is. I was like, what the heck is that? I go to the anime and okay, that's like apparently that's inlay, where he's like inlaying Black Whip over his muscle fibers. What do you think of that application of Black Whip, where he's essentially using it to keep his muscle fibers together and allows him to store
Super,
much more power?
super inventive. I looked up a Reddit chat about this, and everybody called him Carnage Deku,
Yeah, I saw
which I
some of
thought
that.
was kind of. You saw that?
Yeah, I kind of saw some of that elsewhere.
I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, kind of. I like that. Like, it's sort of symbolic of like just how much Deku's willing to give it all up. Like Deku's like giving up his quirks, he's giving up his health, he's giving up his life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he went out and lived like an outcast out in the world, went without sleep, went out without food. They finally had to drag him back in to rest a little bit, you know. And now, like, he looks so freakish that it's almost like he's given up his humanity a little bit. You know what I mean? And we know that he hasn't, but like, he's giving up everything. And it's just sort of an extension of that, like a symbolic extension of that, in my opinion, that just how much he's giving up for this. So I liked that.
I have like two whatever. I have two ideas here that I want to get out. One was a new idea that I just happened to think about today. But the first idea is like that form of his looks surprisingly similar to when Deku went anti-hero 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what that reminded me of, and I was kind of wondering because Deku, according to him, and I guess now thinking about it, the way Deku explained what he was doing with Black Whip, it seemed like he was doing this all along, and maybe he had experience doing this to begin with. So I guess that makes sense. Like, okay, maybe he was doing this during his anti-hero days, and that's how he was doing what he was doing, and how he managed to like almost one-shot. Well, no, he one-shotted Muscular the second time he fought him.
Mm-hmm.
Besides knowing Muscular's attack pattern, I was like, this kind of maybe explains like why he was capable of doing a smash, and it didn't seem like it affected him all that much. But also too, one thing I want to say that this speaking things this reminded me of, I don't know if this is really what he's doing, because I don't know if this is something that Black Whip can do. But like, as he was powering up, quote unquote, with the green lightning, and then the Black Whip was like forming around him. Did that kind of remind you of like Red Riot Unbreakable a little bit?
How so?
Like almost like the monstrous, like it's not as monstrous as Unbreakable looked, because like that was horrific, but like it reminded me a little bit with the claws, and then the very dead stare. How if you look at Deku's eyes during that moment, they kind of look like his eyes hardened over a little bit for some strange reason. Like, I don't know why, but could Black Whip harden and we just didn't know that was an ability that it had? Like, cause like to me, I was like, is this just some Unbreakable Deku version? Because it wasn't like it's not like Deku is against copying people, because he does it all the freaking time. Mostly with Kachan, but like it wouldn't be completely random that he would be copying Kirishima. But at the same time, it was just one of those things. I was thinking about it. I was like, that looks like Kirishima, because that was what was bugging me when I saw his claw hand show up. I was like, I've seen that before. I just don't know where. It looked like an exact trace. I don't know if it's an exact trace, but I'm pretty sure somebody could probably find both scenes and then have them show up at the same time. I'm willing to bet that they traced that, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. It was one of the weirdest things I've noticed and it was just from a video of his hand.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, like, am I crazy? 'Cause I'm willing to accept that, well, I'm crazy. It's just one of those things. Like, I feel like I don't know. It's just I don't completely understand what he's doing with Black Lip here. It's like one of the weirdest things he's done with that ability. And again, that's kind of like where I'm saying, like, Deku. Before I had made mention, like, Deku is so in tune with Black Lip that I find it difficult for him to lose it. This is just proving, at least for me, he is far more in tune with that ability of all the 7 abilities he has. To me, he's more in tune with Black Lip. Granted, I'm pretty sure there's some circumstances, like, Black Lip was the first ability that showed up. 2, he's probably had more experience using that because he does train with it to allow him more, you know, versatility in the air. And 2, he does have conversations with Banjo, is his name, a lot. So I'm guessing it might just be he's had more time with it. But it just to me, it's like he just seems so. To me, if you had told me from like, if I didn't know anything about this show and like that, you know, people have powers, and this was the first scene that I've seen of this character moving around and stuff like that. Like, is that his quirk? Like, I wouldn't have known any better. I feel like that would have, like, to me, that would have looked like his quirk, his ability. To me, just from
Yeah.
from a not knowing a dang thing about the show, and that's the first thing I saw. Like, it just seems like to me, like, if there ever had to be, if we get to the end of the show and he has to lose one for all, but he had to keep one ability, I think Black Lip would be the thing that I would really want him to keep. Because he seems to know how to use it. Like, it just seems like he knows how to use it, and what the range and whatever like that this quirk is capable of covering. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like to me, because he's even using it in ways I didn't think it was possible. I never thought, and the funny thing is, I thought about it too. I was like, Black Lip being on his muscle fibers isn't the most ridiculous thing ever, because like Black Lip is coming from inside his body to begin with. So it's like, yeah, it covering his muscle, his inside of his body makes a lot of sense, which is a weird thing to say. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. It was just one of those. These are thoughts.
It's a very literal, like, more so than the other ones. It's a very literal, like, power. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it's just easier to wrap your mind around when he's using it. Like, I can't for sure tell you if he's using float right now.
I think he
I
has
feel
to
like
be still in
I
the
feel
air.
like I feel like he is, but you see what I mean? It's really up in the air, like whether he's using it. Danger sense is hard to communicate that it's being used. Just stuff like that. Like, danger sense is hard to, like, are they really using danger sense? I don't know, probably. You know what I mean? Like, it's harder to wrap your mind around some of that stuff. But like with Black Whip, like, you can straight up see it all the time when it's being used.
I guess I like to think about it like he's just more in tune with it. But I'm pretty sure what that really is, and I'm gonna be real. I'm pretty sure what that really is because he just had more time with it. Because again, it was the first ability that showed up when Deku was using One for All during the season. Like, it was like one of the first powers that woke up from all the other powers that woke up. So I'm pretty sure that's really what it is that Deku just had more time with it, and also probably is a physical manifestation versus like intuition, which allows him to dodge attacks. The ability, I guess, to become weightless, which is like what allows him to fly. Smoke screen, which, you know, that's another physical thing that he doesn't really use all that much. He kind of uses to get away. Gear shift, which, you know, stockpiles even more power. But yeah, Deku Prince at the end of the episode kind of uses. I don't even. It really does look like, now I've said that out loud, it really kind of looks like Deku kind of copied Kirishima. But like, it's like Deku Red Riot version or like that. But like, whatever he did there with the I don't know. Is can he hard? I guess he could harden Black Whip. Because he would, like, to restrain people, he had to tighten it up in the first place. So maybe that's like a form of like Maybe it's maybe it's more elastic than I think it is, and he's just capable of controlling the elasticity of a black whip whenever he wants to use it. Maybe that's what that is. It just seems so weird that he kind of just suddenly did this. But like, yeah, that was actually what I told you to avoid watching the intro for if you watched it already. Like you happen to see Deku using Black Whip like that in the intro. Also, apparently, I wasn't aware of this, Bakugo was not present in the anime intro at all when the show started. And then when his time came up in the show is when he showed up in the anime in the anime intro. Apparently, he was not there at first, and I was not paying attention to that.
What was that last part? I'm sorry.
No, apparently Bakugo was not present in the anime intro, and then when Bakugo finally showed up in the anime, is when he started showing up in the anime intro.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I was not aware of that. Apparently, because I was watching a reactor and they brought that up, that Bakugo wasn't there. And then suddenly he was. I was like, oh, really? But I was like, yeah, that's, yeah, the Deku Black Whip thing. I honestly thought I knew something ahead of time before this show, and I was very disappointed by it, but now I'm curious to know if I'm wrong. I'll welcome if I'm wrong. I'd welcome a gaslighting right now, because it's like, that's an interesting thing to say in this time of America. I welcome a gaslighting, but whatever. I was not aware. Like I guess I'm gonna go off the idea that I don't know what I thought I knew, so I'm just as blind to the rest of this show as possible. I know very little about or anything about the Shigaraki fight. I'm still very curious what's gonna happen. Like, there's clues that Deku might lose his power, but then also there's clues saying that really what he's doing is he's gonna shoot One for All into Shigaraki to put to break open the wall or the little shell around little Shigaraki. So we'll see how that works out. Apparently he's telling him to like slap Shigaraki, which is gonna be interesting when Deku's like bouncing around and slapping him several times, and Shigaraki's like, "What are you doing? Stop that! Oh,
stop that, boy!
I was like, what are you
Get
doing?
on over here!
What are you doing slapping?" And I also want to bring up like when number 2 said like, you know how your childhood friend gives you things, and like I had to watch that scene several times to get why Deku had the reaction that he had. But yeah, I finally got it. Back in the day, anytime Bakugo handed him anything, he would slap his hand and tell him to die. They gave it to him, so that was just reaction to being told to die from Bakugo.
That's funny.
It took me a while to realize that's what was going on, because I remember he had that reaction, and I'm like, what is with the reaction? That makes absolutely no sense. Oh, now it makes more sense. It's also I guess we get to the end here before I let Jock have the mic. What Bakugo,
like President Mike?
Where are they? Where's President Mike and Eraserhead? But really quick, I kind of find it interesting that, you know, with the whole talk about Deku kind of mimicking people. I don't think I ever made mention of this or even talked about it, but there's been various elements that hint that, you know, that Deku kind of mimics Bakugo. It's never outright stated, but like Deku has made mention in his mind when he first fought Bakugo seriously for the first time, how he kind of admired Bakugo's fighting well and stuff like that, and how he hates to admit this, but like whenever, you know, he thinks about a hero that doesn't go down, or, you know, hero that's unstoppable, he always has an image of Bakugo in his brain. And I just want to say that's kind of interesting that, you know, how like, because I think I read somewhere that apparently like while All Might's the hero that Deku looks up to, Bakugo is the hero that is closest to him, that he has admiration for, and that he mimics probably the most, like beyond All Might. Like Bakugo is the hero that he admires the most, basically. Not admires, but like it's like, since they were the same age, you know, they hang out, like Bakugo is the person he respects the most. So I remember reading that somewhere, and I'm like, huh, that's really weird. This is before the whole Bakugo character arc that we went on through this entire show. But I was like, that's really strange. I wonder why. Yeah, Bakugo is an interesting character. and I guess I want to say is like, I'm glad that like what happened with the story was basically the second movie with Nine, and where Deku shared One for All. For people who don't know this, there's rumors going around, I think this came from the creator, that like the creator initially intended the anime to end that way. Basically, the way that movie ended was supposed to be the ending of the anime or the manga, and because he had to use it for a movie, he had to come up with a different ending. Um, but based off that ending, I don't know how this anime is gonna end, because manga creators typically have to stay with the same type of ending. They don't typically stray too far from it. I don't know how this is gonna end, because it's like, with that information, it makes me kind of worried. But I guess we'll see. I will say I'm glad that we didn't get that ending, because that Bakugo wasn't, fully developed at that point, and I prefer the Bakugo that we got at the end of this versus the Bakugo that was at the end of that one. Because that Bakugo was starting to come over and change, but he hadn't fully committed to the change yet.
Yeah. He was just going through the change.
Basically. That's what I wanted to say. I prefer this Bakugo, the end game Bakugo that we got, versus the one that they were going to give us initially at first. But,
I'm personally very happy with how Bakugo turned out. Like, I like where he went and his journey. I think that was really good character development.
He was definitely a really, really well-developed character. I really did like that. Like, that wasn't, at first I didn't like him, but then over the course of the show, which is kind of funny, I think some of the characters I like the most are the ones I don't like at the very beginning, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the ones I just despise, and then as you follow them, you start understanding where they're coming from. And it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that, Bakugo wasn't that character that I thought he was going to be, which was like the guy that was, puffing at his chest, pretending to be all tough, and but he actually was. He was very gifted, and I enjoyed that. Like the route that he was actually really intelligent. He was very capable in a fight. Like, I'm glad he got the power up that he was desperately trying to reach. And now he feels like he could do anything he wants to do now. So that's cool. I'm really happy for him. Like, he got the power up he needed. But now we're here at the end of the anime review, and we're going to hear Spear's notes, if he has any.
Let me see. I didn't have a lot of notes for this one, to be honest with you. One comment I saw on Reddit that really connected with me, because I was really digging for stuff to talk about for this episode. It's a simple. I don't know. There's a lot of build up in this episode, but not a lot of stuff to talk about necessarily. An interview that was held after the manga concluded said that the writer of these stories had a whole backstory for every single one of the past holders, but didn't want to include them in the story, so he just didn't. So there's a whole backstory to all these vestiges. I think I wanted to know them. I think I would have liked more time. I agreed with what the guy on Reddit said. Like, I think I would have enjoyed more time getting to know the vestiges a little bit more, so that I could be a little more engaged in this part of the story. I feel like I'm not quite wrapped up in this part of the story, and I wish I was, because I don't know who these people are very well. Like, to the point where, like, when this all happened, like, when this guy, like, got captured, and the other guy knocked him out of the way and everything, like, I didn't have any background plot motivation for why he would specifically knock him out of the way. I didn't, like, it wasn't established that he was especially self-sacrificial or heroic or anything like that. And it wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't a lot to put into it. And, like, I think I would have liked getting to know him better. I think I would have liked, understanding the consequences of those actions a little better. I think I would have liked not wondering what power he lost when the guy got pulled away because I already knew, you know. I think there was just a little bit lost because of all that.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't think I really care that much about these characters. I mean, I'll say
I
there's a
wanted to.
build
I
up.
didn't care about these characters, and that's the whole point. I kind of wanted to, you know.
Me personally, I didn't really. I mean, that's the only character. I'll take that back. Now I'm thinking about it. There's another character. There's only one character I would have cared about learning about. And now hearing that there was a backstory for her, it kind of disappoints me. Is Nana Shimura, and
I would have
really,
definitely liked more Nana. Yeah.
I think the only reason why I really want to know more about her is because she has a connection to All Might, and a lot of people everywhere are talking about like how they really want there to be like a prequel showing like the life of All Might, leading with Nana Shimura as the master, which
Mm-hmm.
that would be kind of cool. I also want to point out, I want to say something too. I found this out apparently because Google just showed this to me. Well, not just showed it to me, but showed me a couple weeks ago. Apparently, the animators are, the Studio Bones. They said there's gonna be a huge My Hero Academia like announcement at the end of the anime. I don't know what that's supposed to be about. My initial thoughts is that maybe they're gonna announce the season 2 to Vigilante. Um, but I haven't even watched for season 1 as Vigilante yet, so I don't really have a yay or a nay on that one yet. I do want to watch it, so I'll probably get around to watching it soon. But and then the other character I probably would have enjoyed, and I think it's only just because his placement in the story is number 2, do a gear shift, because the way they explain him and his power, how it was completely useless, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see the world that One For All, a kid One For All was in. No, All For One was in. No, wait. Yeah, All For One was in. Wait, no. It was these two. I don't know, but a kid him walking around and stuff like that. We probably could have gotten some confirmation of like how he survived, how he did. It's possible that, I guess another thing too is like, it's possible that maybe he could just suck the nutrients out too. Like his power isn't just, relegated to powers. Like maybe he can just suck the nutrients out of people. Like, that's how he survived. He just sucked, he took the nutrients out of his mother, his corpseful mother. But yeah, I mean, if there was backstory and maybe he could have done it. It's possible also too, like maybe in the future he'll release some like character profile book, and then those character stories just get put in there.
He did.
Oh,
They actually said that in the Reddit thread that he did. I just didn't mention it myself. I guess that did go into some book or something that came out as a supplement.
I should probably get that book there. But
Yeah, it could be fun.
but yeah, that's all I want to say. I mean, like I understand how you want to know more with these characters, and I'm not trying to like bring that down. I'm just saying for me personally, it's like, I mean, all these characters really, they didn't come off as interesting enough for me to want to learn more about. Maybe Shiramori, the dude we just lost, maybe because like his story was kind of interesting because it was how we found out that apparently these guys died in their 40s. But that would have been interesting to know more about him. But yeah, but okay, but continue.
Honestly, I wish I had a lot more to say, but that was a big part of it. Like that might be a huge amount of like what I had left to say. My bigger points were like that with the point I said about losing danger sense in the beginning instead of smokescreen, and then the only other thing that I don't know why this came up for me, but I spent a lot of time thinking about how Bakugo had originally been considered as a vessel for All For One as well. That it was established earlier in the series, and I don't know why. It just it came up in my mind a lot, and I was just thinking like, wow, like All For One had some pretty good taste,
I guess we can go into speculation or just like dangerous fan talk. You saying that actually kind of just jogged something in my memory that somebody else, a reactor I was watching, kind of himself kind of brought up that he was suspicious of too, and it happened to deal with Bakugo. It never crossed my mind, but when he said it, I kind of brushed it off, but after you saying that, I know that again. But I to go back to piggyback of another idea. Another thing I brought out was like, you know how I said the energy bending for in the last episode could have just been like a random last thing that they came up with. Like manga creators or story writers typically have threads that they follow and they have stories that they make. Sometimes not everything that they intended to show up in a manga in an idea kind of comes through because either the lack of time or they didn't like it eventually at a certain point. They just didn't like how that came out. This reactor brought up an interesting point, which is interesting to think about. He believes that maybe it's possible. He doesn't really know. He doesn't have anything to confirm this, but he believes that he wouldn't put it past the creator of this manga to actually, because he was confirmed that Bakugo was not the second user's relative at all. He wasn't related to him at all.
Mhm.
But like it's too much of a coincidence that Bakugo does look like him. That like he wouldn't be surprised that if some other point in the show's writing that was actually the case, that Bakugo was supposed to be related to him, but like for some reason they got rid of it. Kind of like how the ending of like the second movie was supposed to be the original ending to the story, but he changed his mind. Actually, he had to be forced to put that ending into the movie. With Bakugo taking one for all into him, and then it coming back to Deku at the end of it all. Like, with that being said, like this was floating around. This was the creator happened to say this, or somebody heard or speculated this was supposed to be the case. But as far as we know, the movies, at least the first 3 movies, are canon. That 4th movie that we have yet to watch yet, I have no idea. But based off of what I'm hearing, this guy thinks, and it makes sense to me because like if I had to really think about it, Bakugo does look surprisingly similar. This honestly in a realistic situation, you should not look that similar to somebody you are not related to. Like even in the deepest sense of your lineage, somewhere in the deepest part of your lineage, this person had to exist because you look too similar to him. And I'm like, I always thought about that when I saw that. I was like, it is kind of weird that they do kind of broach this idea, at least One for All does, where he's like, why do you look like him? Why do you tick me off in the same way that he does? Even One for All saying that he didn't have the same light in his eyes that guy did until recently. So to me, it's like, I feel like maybe it is true. Maybe it is possible. We'll never know because they're not going to tell you this information.
But that is a really good theory that like he sort of went through an evolution in the writing process that we're seeing a relic of. I really like that.
I was also hearing about how they originally meant Bakugo to be a villain. I remember reading that somewhere that Bakugo was initially supposed to be a villain, and you can see that in the very early days of Bakugo's character. It definitely did seem like that was a route he was going down, and then somewhere along the lines that changed because we got the kidnapping arc, and then that's when Bakugo kind of solidified that he was going to be a hero during that arc. So it was one of those things. Like it seems like Bakugo, as you said before, there must have been a lot of evolution with this character, and we'll just never really know because like this information isn't going to just be put out there by the creator. Now maybe years down the road, maybe if there's like an anniversary and he wants to be nice about it, he will bring out that maybe that this was the initial plan for Bakugo, because even like again, like you said, relative to the past, there have been various things seeded throughout the show, like like you said before, Bakugo was supposed to be one of the initial users. He was supposed to be the successor if Deku hadn't been the one to meet All Might in the middle of nowhere. Like Bakugo had the potential to be one. And then we have the whole villain thing, and then also Bakugo looking like the second guy, which is too much of a coincidence to write off.
Yeah.
Because it's like I really thought too much. I was really thinking about like he looks too much like him. Like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he was supposed to be in the story a relative, like a deep great grand nephew of somebody that All for One didn't get a chance to kill, or maybe it was given birth to, and like All for One just didn't realize that he was still around. Just like one of the few things. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I actually would believe that that was the actual initial case for him, because he definitely does look too much like him. That it's not even a coincidence. Like, I bet there's some people out there who probably still believe that Bakugo is related to him, and they just don't want to let us know. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a
That
cool.
would be interesting,
I mean,
especially since All for One worked so hard to kill the lineage of people that got in his way.
that is also true. He said that he could, like, if he was him, he would have sensed his presence in him. So we know with the, at least according to All for One, he couldn't sense him if he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could be one of those.
It was like one more like element of how things were. Everything that he planned was falling apart. You know what I mean? Where he's like, I thought I killed all of you. And he's like, well, I wasn't one of them. You know what I mean? But I'm awfully like it. You can kill everybody from like a specific lineage, but that doesn't mean there's not anyone like them.
Yeah, I mean, like, he carried on his will. Like, Bakugo got his will, even if though, that was just, Bakugo being himself. I thought it was kind of cool that Bakugo's appearance and his personality is what unrattled All for One. Which is cool and interesting, because All for One tried kidnapping him to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But kidnapping Bakugo was what his real downfall was. It's like him off. Like, imagine that, like, you're very careful all your life, like, making chess pieces, and then, like, one chess piece gets away from you, but not only does it get away from you, it becomes a chess piece against you.
Yeah, it was like, well, you thought it was a pawn, and it turned out it was like, a queen, and you're like, holy crap, I had no idea that was going to grow into such a monster, even though he saw its potential, because it was like, he was like, I might want to take this guy over instead of Shigaraki, which is kind of silly, because Shigaraki's power is so much better than Bakugo's for somebody like All for One, you know what I mean, who probably, because Bakugo's power is mostly just a destructive power, and All for One seems like he has no shortage of getting those. But the decay power is like really big.
I mean, after Shigaraki awakened it, that's still insane.
Also, what a sort of uncomfortable power to have. Like, you just have to sweat all the time, be like a sweaty bastard to use your power. Can't use deodorant.
Well, I don't think that stuff stinks. I think it's just, it isn't like normal sweat. He secretes a substance that he can just blow up.
Yeah, but he also makes normal sweat. We found out in the last episode.
Yeah, but I think he has control. Well, I was gonna say I think he has control over that, but I can't say that.
Mm-hmm. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing that out there.
That's a problem. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else to say. You ran out of your notes. So.
No, yeah, I really tried. I watched the episode twice. I looked up reviews. I read in the forums and stuff like that, and it just seemed like nobody had a lot to say about this episode except that they want to know what's happening next. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of evaluation to add to this one. It was just a lot of very dramatic events that add intrigue, but the payoffs are all either happened in the last episode or are on their way to happening now. Yeah, a lot of people seem a general theme of a lot of people. I mean, first of all, everybody ranted about the subtitles being screwed up, which is interesting because I remember the first time I watched it, I just wrote this off as me watching it while I was falling asleep. The first time I watched this, I was like, I had a tough time following what was going on. And then as I was about to watch the second one, I noticed everybody talked about how screwed up the subtitles were, and I watched it just as it came out on Crunchyroll, and then they said later that the subtitles are fixed now. So I think I watched it when they said whole sets of dialogue were just completely missing, that they just didn't translate what people were saying at all. So I think that was why I was confused watching it the first time around. And then when it came around the second time, when I watched it the second time, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that hard to understand. There were concepts, you know what I mean? And I did want to stop. I was having trouble keeping track of some of the vestiges and stuff like that. but it wasn't awful. You know what I mean? So
That
people
was
had that to say. And go ahead.
you misunderstanding or not understanding. It wasn't just you. I watched it too, and it was around the time Deku was explaining what he was doing with Black Whip that I had to stop the anime to rewind just to understand what he had said. I didn't understand what he was saying. And then I rewatched it again today, and it seemed a lot more easy to understand. And I just now realized that happened after you explained that apparently people were complaining about it.
Yeah, the subtitles were way messed up apparently, and they went and fixed it after a couple days. And I think I watched the second time I watched it. I think I watched it with the fixed subtitles, and the first time I think I watched it with the bad subtitles, and I was just no idea what was going on. They said there was stuff badly translated, there was stuff missing that like people said, and they weren't like translating it at all, and all sorts of stuff. So it really threw me off, and I was really glad to know that it wasn't just me
Okay,
when I
well,
watched it
one
again.
last thing I want to add on to this. I don't want
Mhm.
people to take bad translations as a sign of poor quality. From what I understand, translating from Japanese to English is a really, really hard thing, and there's a lot of nuance when translating out of Japanese, which a part of me knows this too, because like it depends on the Japanese person that's speaking, and the person that's translating. For the most part, it takes a really good person. I don't know why Crunchyroll doesn't hire like really good translators.
Uh-huh.
If they're not hiring really good translators, because apparently this has happened a lot of times in other anime too. This current like My Hero isn't the only one that I guess is suffering from the bad translations. I wasn't aware that was a bad translation, and I watched it the second time today, and I was able to understand it, but I didn't notice that that was the issue I was having until you just said it out loud.
Hmm. Another thing, and I wasn't as upset about this, but the fans seemed to be upset about this from what I read, was that they were unhappy that the incredible quality of the anime from the previous episode didn't seem to carry over as well on this one.
There was no need. There was no
Like,
need for that.
yeah, and that's why I didn't mind so much. But people are like, "Oh, they didn't keep up with the great animation quality," and I'm like, "Well, give them a minute." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a problem yet, but there's a lot of people complaining about that, and I didn't personally
I mean,
need it to. And the word "need" is a really good choice on your part. I didn't need it to be so good. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm comfortable with like them stepping back for a minute and saving their budget for when it's really important.
but the thing is, like, there was
Oh,
also a huge. Sorry, I just like. But the thing is, there's
go
also
ahead.
a huge year break. Those several episodes that we said that were like on movie level didn't even really need to be movie level because everybody was shocked at the animation anyway. Um, you brought up an interesting point that it really the way they animated Bakugo really showed his powers at full scale anyway. I think Bakugo just it was necessary for Bakugo because he wasn't gonna be in the rest of the anime to begin with. Deku is gonna be here for a long haul, so like I'm pretty sure what's gonna happen is they'll step it up. Like you said before, they're gonna give him time and they're gonna step up the animation because like Deku's gonna eventually, there's gonna be like one final like all out fight between these two, and it's gonna be an animation spectacle, is what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
So I suspect we're gonna get the animation that they're not gonna. I mean, like again, you can't keep on churning out episodes like that because you're gonna burn yourself out. I mean, for a lot of people who are complaining about that, before I shut up, please look at the Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man situation with Mappa, where they worked their workers too hard and it became a huge social media disaster. I just want people to put perspective in before you say something. But continue.
The other thing that, and this was a better point that I kind of agreed with, is it looks like they're sort of like done with. Trying to think of the best way to say this. It looks like they're sort of done with the main fight, and now we're going to like the more existential kind of fighting. And something that some people said here was, I would have liked to see them like Deku with all his powers with a little more time to go all out. And that was fair, I thought, as well. Like, because now he's losing his powers, and his plan is to give up more powers. And Deku is just sort of coming into his own and getting really creative and interesting with his powers. Um, and now he's going to lose them, and that means that things are going to kind of like not be at the same high level scale. So I think that's fair. I think I would have not minded at all if we had a little more of a chance to see him going all out.
I mean, I don't know if he's gonna lose his powers. Like, I feel like, at least from the way that I'm taking what was said, it seems like to me it almost seems like they're trying to slingshot powers in and out. Unfortunately, that won't work for like the Danger Sense dude because that was just taken out of Deku. But
Mhm.
it sounds like it's like to me it's like they're doing. They're gonna utilize, I guess, how One for All works was like, I guess, like, can't transfer quirks into somebody that already has a quirk, unless you're Shigaraki, who's got multiple powers than him already. But we're gonna ignore that bit because apparently that's not gonna really matter in the grand scheme of how they're intending to use. It sounds like what they're going to do is they're going to utilize the will of the user to transfer in the power, but I'm guessing they're going to get it back out. Now, I will say that
Mhm.
that last part was not said, so I'm just kind of just like inferring here. But I don't know. Like, again, before I am hoping what I thought I saw was wrong and incorrect, so that way, like, so that way I could feel a little bit better about him not, if he is going to lose his powers. But oh boy, if he does lose his powers, let me be very, very concerned. Mainly because
Do you think if he wins over Shigaraki, that Shigaraki would give him his powers back? He has the ability to do that.
it just make me even more upset.
Just a little too happy-go-lucky.
I'm just like, I think what it is like I watched so many shows over the years where they kind of have like a character kind of like Shigaraki where he seems irredeemable, but they go the extra mile to make you feel bad for them enough where you would feel okay with them being redeemed. I'm like, I don't want them to do this again. Like, is where I'm coming up, but I guess I got the same point. They didn't redeem All For One, so I guess that they had to redeem one of these two characters. I guess it would have to be Shigaraki. I just prefer if they didn't. That's my.
It would also, but it would counterpoint also like how successful a hero he was, because everybody else wasn't really able to redeem their rival.
Uraraka kind of did.
Kind of, not really though.
I mean, technically speaking, she did redeem her. The only reason why she's dead is because Toga knew that they were gonna put her in jail anyway. That's the only reason why she died. Like, that's literally the main reason why she did die. But she had to change the heart. But she just knew that they weren't gonna listen to her. But she is right. Toga's killed people.
She was also more crazy than evil.
No, I feel like she was more misunderstood. Like, a lot of that, and this isn't me trying to just be contradictory to you. I'm just saying, like, a lot of her instability just flat out came from the fact that, like, she liked blood, but people found that disturbing. And instead of trying to understand Toga and where she was coming from, she was told that was bad. And unfortunately, when she was told that, she capitulated to society to suppress that desire. And unfortunately, a desire to want to help and give blood to people became I want all the blood in the world, unfortunately, which is an extreme, but at the same time she had a lot happen to her when she was younger. Like, I feel like that can be forgiven. But again, it's like Uraraka wasn't so insane to try to find something within Toga that she could talk to, and she did. So in my retrospect, she did redeem Toga. It's just that Toga realized that there was no way she was gonna be able to be free if she was still alive, which is still sad. And it was really weird. At the end of the day, like I'm glad that they actually did redeem her. Would I have been would I have been upset if they didn't redeem her? No. But in retrospect, I'm glad that they did. And maybe I could come around on the whole Shigaraki thing, but I would really need to be like, there had to be some serious. There had to be. I would have to feel something for him, and even in the smallest sense, for me to be even okay with him being redeemed. But at this point, I don't. And like the part that I could feel bad for is the child that was abused, but even that's like there hasn't been a scene with that child in it in forever now. So like, I don't know why I would feel bad for that kid because the kid hasn't shown up at all. But this is My Hero Academia, so I mean, they can pull that kid out again. I don't know. But I don't know. It sounds like
predictions for the next episode before we close up.
I think Deku's gonna try to inject One for All. He may get one or two off before Shigaraki understands what's going on, and then makes it even more difficult for Deku to continue his strategy. What that's gonna lead to, I have no idea. He might actually, now I'm saying this aloud, he actually might just straight up, close line Deku and take all his powers out, which is gonna be really freaking weird. I'm gonna be really, really weirded out by it, but I guess we'll see what happens. Like, I think Dick is gonna try to implement the plan. He's gonna probably be successful on the first two slaps. But then
I think he's gonna need to get them all in there. I think he's gonna need to give all his powers up.
I don't know. A part of me doesn't want this to happen mainly because, like, not that the Google thing I saw years ago really means much right now, because I don't completely understand the context of it all. I could have sworn I saw something in there about Deku losing his powers. Now I don't remember in what context that was in, so I'm just hoping that it's not true.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping for right now, but I don't know. If he loses his powers, I guess we'll see what the story has installed store for him. But I guess to really answer the question of, do I see Shigaraki, if he were to be a good guy, giving his powers back? I don't know. I don't think, even if Shigaraki was redeemed, I still think Shigaraki is kind of a hole. Maybe he wouldn't give them back to him immediately, but like maybe a month from then. I don't know. And Shigaraki and Deku weren't exactly friends. They weren't even friends before all this happened. They didn't have a common interest before all this happened. They were just two random dudes that met in the mall, and one threatened the other one. I'm not even kidding. That's literally what happened. But like, at least with Toga and Himiko, like Himiko had an interest in Uraraka, and vice versa with Uraraka and Toga. And Himiko and Uraraka wanted to talk to her, and it seems like Himiko wanted to reciprocate that. And they both had an interest to talk about boys, so it was like, it's as like dumb and schooly as that is, it was still an interest, there. I don't really, Deku loves superheroes, but Shigaraki hates them. Like, unless there's an interest that I'm not aware of that these two share, which would be really funny if they pulled that out of nowhere, but who am I kidding? They're probably gonna do that, but I guess I'm hoping that they don't do the Deku losing his powers thing. Will that ruin my week? Probably not, but I'll be a little sad if I'm gonna go out
Don't be sad.
Listen, I don't have Glad paper. I don't have the Glad trash bags.
Don't get sad. Get glad. Don't get mad. Get glad.
Those are some odd commercials. But with that, gonna end it here, guys. See you guys next week for whatever happens next.